Hello everyone, welcome to Book Club Preview Writing Edition. Today we're going to finish up Unit 8. We start off at page 152, Language Focus, and talking about prepositions of location. Oftentimes when we're describing something, it can be helpful to describe its location. If we're describing a room, or if we're describing a place, or even directions, right? Giving prepositions of location can really help someone visualize what you're talking about. So first, we need to think of the object of a preposition. An object of a preposition is the noun that immediately follows a preposition. The preposition and the noun, that whole phrase is called the prepositional phrase. So we have, for example, here, the new bank is, now here's the prepositional phrase, on Wilson Road, prepositional phrase, near the bank, prepositional phrase, and it just underlines that whole thing. So the object is Wilson Road, or road. Wilson might be describing the road if you want to be really picky. And park is also the object of a preposition. But that whole thing together is called a prepositional phrase. And the whole purpose of these phrases are to help people visualize or understand more clearly what you're talking about in your paragraph. And at the bottom of this page, there are tons of different examples of prepositions: above, before, behind, between, inside, throughout, under, outside. A whole bunch of different things we can use to describe where things are or where they are in relationship to other things. We're going to jump into this grammar a little bit more later on, but for now, it's just helpful to look at the examples of these prepositions to kind of remind you or help you brainstorm about how you can use location in your paragraphs. So, jumping over to activity 10, we want to write some sentences about location. Now, it asks you to do a classroom. We're not in a classroom. So look around your bedroom or your study room or your dorm room, your library, wherever you are right now, watching this video and reading your book. Look around. What do you see? Write some sentences based on location. So the first thing, you might see an item. Okay. I see a whiteboard. Okay. Now how am I going to write a sentence describing location about that whiteboard? The teacher's desk is in front of the whiteboard. Oh, in this case, the item would be teacher's desk. And then I'd be describing it by the location of the whiteboard. And you can look around. Oh, my cell phone. Okay. My cell phone is on the red folder. Good. And I can add a little bit more underneath the monitor, right? And I can even add more prepositions to help be clear. Next to the door, across from the bed, all sorts of different stuff. So write the sentences, okay? Look at the location of something and then write sentences to describe where it is. And then after that, we'll jump into activity 11. Activity 11 is almost half of what we're going to look at today. And that's just example paragraphs. So as usual, before we read the paragraph, there are some questions that we just want to look at, to brainstorm, to think about. Then we dive into the paragraph, reading it, and especially looking at how they use prepositional phrases to donate location and to give clarity on where things are, and to help describe and help us imagine what they're talking about in the paragraph. And I think the first one is kind of funny. A great living room. Interesting. Of course, after you read the paragraph, please answer the questions that follow. And that'll take us all the way over to page 157. Now we're jumping into a little bit more of the grammar of prepositional phrases, and especially their word order. So in this writer's note, prepositional phrases are usually at the end of a sentence, right? So in my example, the cell phone is on the red folder. That's at the end of the sentence. But I could switch this around to give my paragraph a little bit more variety, because if every sentence has a preposition at the end, it might be a little too repetitive. So, on the red folder is a cell phone, or is my cell phone. Okay, we can switch that over by using a comma. In this case, we wouldn't use a comma because there's a be verb. But if I added on the red folder, there is a cell phone, then I would have a comma because of the there. But let's look at each of these a little bit more closely. Use a comma when we move it to the beginning of a sentence. And we can see some examples here. Okay. On the floor, okay, that's the prepositional phrase, comma, there were many papers. On top of the television, comma, a flat, fluffy cat was sleeping. Usually, we add there, and then there's a comma, okay? In the second example, there is no comma, but that is because there's a noun, a cat was sleeping. If I said on top of the TV was a sleeping cat, there would be no comma, all right? That's confusing. We might need to talk about this section a little bit more, but let's go on to, excuse me, to the next part, which is if there is a be verb, there is no comma. So let's look at the examples. An empty pizza box was, okay, that's the subject, and now prepositional phrase, under the sofa. No problem. That's a normal sentence in normal use of prepositional phrase. But now if we want to switch it, under the sofa was, that's our be verb. We don't need a comma if there's a be verb, was an empty pizza box. All we have to do is flip those if there's a be verb in the middle. But we can also say, well, we can't actually say this. In the example, under the sofa, comma, an empty pizza box was. That doesn't work. We could say under the sofa, there was an empty pizza box. Then we would have a comma if we added that there. Okay? But if there's no there, and that's the last one, there is no comma. And so that is those examples. And just looking at these last examples for if there's no there in the sentence, there's no comma. On the floor, comma, there are many papers. Cool, no problem. There and a comma. And also we can say on the floor are many papers. And we just delete the there and we delete the comma. So they go together. That can be confusing. Okay, read through those instructions one more time to maybe just help you understand it. And if there are any questions, it's okay, because this is very confusing, even for me. Oh, commas! So let's talk about it if you don't get it. But we have some examples to try to help us understand what's going on here. So the first one in example paragraph 63 says, read the paragraph. Cool, no problem. Underline the objects, circle the objects of each preposition. Okay, that's pretty easy. I'll give you an example here on the first one. Even on the difficult work days, days is the object of that preposition. So that's what I would circle. So circle 16 prepositions or objects of the preposition, and 3 of those have an error with a comma. And I believe, 3 comma error. So we don't know if we need to delete a comma or add a comma, but we know that there are 3 cases where we need to adjust it in some way. So find those errors and fix them. And now we're pretty much finished. So jump into building better vocabulary. Easy word associations, you've got it. Using collocations, no problem, you got it. But of course, we want to start preparing for our paragraph. You don't have to write it right now, but it could be helpful to start brainstorming and thinking about it. So let's look at these topics. The first one is you choose your topic, right? Brainstorm about some sensory object, sight or hearing or smelling or taste or touch. So brainstorm about a bunch of different things. Grab one of those and make a topic about that. Build a controlling idea with a topic sentence and write your own paragraph. If that's too broad for you, no problem. Here are some additional topics on page 161. Describe a moment or describe a national monument. Oh, national monument that is important to you. Oh, is there any national monument that's important to you? For me, immediately I think of the Statue of Liberty. Wow, such an important monument for America. And I could describe that monument to you. What does it look like? What do I feel when I look at the monument? What does it inspire me? All those things I could describe. Topic 2, describe a family tradition. What do you do for that tradition? Why is that tradition important to you? Number 3, describe your favorite or least favorite meal. Oh man, there are some pretty terrible meals that I ate in South Korea. I can think of bandegi, which is like a boiled bug. Oh, no thank you. Least favorite. Or some favorite meals. Oh, fresh lasagna out of the oven. Or, going back to Korea, this is actually my favorite meal, and it's a Korean meal, a marinated Korean pork. Grilled on a barbecue, sizzling, it's so sweet and soft. Favorite. I could write a whole paragraph about that meal and how to eat it, and the descriptions and how I feel when I eat it. Number 4, describe something that makes you happy, or sad, or nervous, or afraid. You can choose any of those. And then the last one, describe a person you know. That one could be pretty fun. What is that person like? What are some of his or her characteristics? Make sure that the description would allow your reader to identify that person in a crowd. You could pick me, although I'm sure I wouldn't be the person you'd pick. But if you picked me, for example, you'd want to describe slender, right? Not thin. Connotations, whatever you want. But I'll go with a slender Caucasian with no hair, with dark brown eyebrows. I don't know what else you would describe. Maybe a thin neck, gray sweater, although that's today. But if I was in a different crowd or different day, it might be different. You could think, glasses, of course. And you would want to describe that so that person could discover who I was in a crowd. But also about that person, what are his characteristics? Silly, crazy, intelligent, funny, goofy. I don't know what you would say, right? But maybe my wife would say compassionate, sincere, loving, caring, things like that. But that's how you would describe a person, and you would paint a picture and help us to imagine what each of those things looks like. And so remember, our focus here for these is description, writing something that we can see, touch, smell, taste, that we can imagine. You don't have to do it right now, but at least you can think about what topic might be the best for you. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, if you have any questions about the video today, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. If you had any other vocabulary words that you wanted to know what they meant, let me know. And also, if you're interested in maybe joining one of these book clubs, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.